Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's press conference. The Bulldogs are coming off a 34-32 victory on the road at VMI in the Military Classic of the South. Looking forward to returning home this Saturday to take on Furman at 2 o'clock here inside Johnson-Haygood Stadium. Here to talk about the Bulldogs the past and this week is head coach Brent Thompson.
Thank you, John. I'll spend a couple minutes talking about the VMI game, and then we'll move ahead and go ahead and on the Furman, and then any questions will take place after that. First of all, it was one of the best atmospheres, very similar to last time I think we were up there. We had about 400 of our knobs up there, and there was certainly, they turned out, it was Parents' Weekend for them, a tremendous environment, a good day. It ended up being a beautiful day at the end of the day in Lexington, which is rare. But I thought it was a great atmosphere for a football game, and I wanted to thank Captain Peluso, and I wanted to congratulate General Walters on the win. He was on the sideline and handed the Shaker, which was a lot of fun to do it for the first time for a president. It was always exciting, and I had a good time with it. So the game itself was an interesting game. It's one of those games where both sides probably did some things that were a little bit uncharacteristic. We went for it a couple more times on fourth down. They went for it on fourth down, got a couple of them, tried a couple of different trick kicks there. We tried a couple things at the end of the half there that didn't work out for us. But it's one of those things where we thought we had to go up there and take the win from them. It's a good football team. I think their team is better than their record indicates. And when you have to go up there into a hostile environment, you've got to do things that may not be characteristic of your football team, and you got to let it hang out a little bit, and I thought we did. I wanted to make sure that our players played loose. I wanted to make sure that they were excited to play a football game there, and I thought we were. I thought we played with emotion. We started off the game fairly the way we wanted it to. We drive down the field and score a touchdown on the first one. We tried to quick kick it, and didn't quite get it. They got the points after that, and from then on it was a back and forth football game all the way to the end. I got to hand it to Coach Wackenheim and VMI. They didn't give up. It was very similar to the way that we were the last couple of weeks, gotten behind and then found ways to battle back and make it into a last possession type of game. When we had to 11 points, I thought we were in good shape. I felt comfortable there. And the one thing that I've learned from that is don't ever feel comfortable in that football game, because those guys came back and battled back and found a way to make it a 2-point ball game instead of an 11-point ball game. And they did it through the air. I thought they did a good job. We missed a couple tackles there. Didn't finish a drive or two, turned the ball over when we shouldn't have, trying to ice the game away. And unfortunately, gave them an opportunity to score and put it to 2 points there. So good football game. I was happy to get out of there with a win. There's certainly a lot of things that we can learn from that game and continuing forward. We need to learn from that game, but also just winning helps. And it certainly helps with the 7-hour trip home. Looking ahead to Furman, it's an up and down year for Furman. They've got a couple different quarterbacks playing for them, a little bit of an identity on offense. They are running the ball. They're doing some really nice things in the play action game. They're finding a way to get open receivers. If you watch the Wofford game, they found quite a bit of open receivers throughout the day, and they had a lot of things go their way. And that's the scary part. I think they did a good job, a really good job against Wofford. And if you look at it, if they don't turn the ball over against Samford this week, they're in the ball game very early, had the lead very early, and just a few turnovers away from really winning that football game. And when you give Samford an opportunity to put points on the board, they're certainly going to do it. So you got to be able to hold the ball on offense. Defensively, it's a very disciplined football team. I just got done telling the offensive guys that we need to play our best one-on-one matchup game that we've played. It's all going to come down to that. You're not going to fool these guys. Coach Staggs understands this offense. He understands what needs to be done. We've faced him quite a few times. He's got a good understanding of how to defend us. And it's really going to come down to just one-on-one matchups. And if you can win the majority of those battles, you'll have some luck there. Special teams play has been pretty solid for us. We've got to continue to play solid on special teams. We've got to continue to make it an offensive play. We've got to continue to get some blocks and try to force some bad punts. Any questions?
Coach Gay, he's the guy that was at CSU for a while with Junior. Right?
Yes, sir.
And they're a 3-4 team, right?
They are. He's an over-under defense that plays us in a 4-3.
You've been in a lot of close games. Furman's kind of been all over the map. When it's a rivalry like this, how much does emotion kind of play into it and make a difference in how sharp or how effective or how much will emotion matter on Saturday?
Well, Darren, I'll put it to you this way: we didn't show up very emotional last year, and the result proved that out. If we don't show up and play an emotional football game, then it'll be that way again. But I can assure you that we're going to show up ready to play football this year, based upon our performance last year.
You mentioned the Wofford game. Kid threw for whatever it was, 230 and 3 touchdowns, and you have a couple other games where they run for 200 yards, 250. How difficult does that make it in defending them, because you don't know which Furman team you're going to get?
Yeah, absolutely. They are, and really what they're trying to do is just find offense. They're finding it. They're finding it in spots. Watching them against ETSU, they're running the football. You watch them against Wofford, they're throwing the football. You've got to defend it all. But the one thing that you've got to defend is you got to be on your game is the play action game. Is they're going to find open receivers. They always have. He does a good job of getting you playing one thing and then fooling you and finding a way to get your support out of whack and cutting a guy loose. So we've got to be disciplined. We've got to have eye discipline in our secondary, and we've got to play run sound defense in the front end.
Brendan, it seems like when Harris Roberts is healthy and playing well, Furman does well. When he's out or doesn't have a good game, they struggle a little bit. Is he a pivotal guy for them?
I think so. I think he makes them go. I mean, he's a guy that can run the offense. He's a guy that can put the ball where it needs to be. He needs a guy that's going to be able to make the right checks. He's going to be able to operate the offense. And then behind him is a redshirt freshman and a true freshman is what they're playing. So just to have some experience there, I think is going to help settle that offense down. So if he is playing this week, then it's a little bit different of a game plan.
I know, obviously, a great atmosphere at VMI, a big rivalry, get up for it. This is also a rivalry, but is there any kind of coming down from that, and how do you keep the guys up this week going into it, or do they just always do it anyway?
Well, I think that it's a rivalry. It's a rivalry for us. And after last year, I think we should be plenty motivated for that one. The only thing that I felt a little bit on Sunday was just the trip kind of lagging on us a little bit. The 7 hours, we got in about 1:30 or so on Saturday, and we come back right at it Sunday night and get back after it. So that being a little bit of an issue, but I'll find out. I'll have a little bit better of an idea today. But after talking to our guys, this is one that they want to get back. They want to get a second shot at this one.
It sounds like last year's game is a bit of a motivational tool for you this week. Are you reminding the guys of last year and what happened up there?
Yeah, I actually just got done reminding them. I remind myself just about every day because I thought it was probably one of the worst coaching jobs that I've done in preparing our guys to play football, and not necessarily the game plan or anything like that, but just emotionally play a game. We came out emotionally flat. We had a big letdown against Western the week before, I believe, and I thought it was my biggest disappointment heading into this year, and I wasn't going to let that happen again. So I'm going to constantly remind them we're going to make sure that we prep and practice. But I also told them we're not going to be able to beat them on Tuesday or Wednesday, but we've got to prepare to beat them on Tuesday and Wednesday. We don't want to get too hyped too early.
This is just your third game of the season that you'll play at home. How much does that add to it? And you don't have a long trip, and I guess just what kind of a challenge is that? It's this point in the season, and it's already game 3 here.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that, Darren, is we're really only halfway through the season. It feels like we're two-thirds of the way through the season. But yeah, it seems like we haven't been at home very much, and we're thankful to be at home for sure. I think it will be an advantage for us to stay at home this week because we don't have another travel trip taking a couple of days away from us, especially when you have to leave early Friday morning. So we'll have more prep time. We'll have more time to get ready for this one, and then we'll have our own fans here, and I think it should be a good environment. And should be an exciting game. It looks like we're going to have clear weather, maybe a little bit rainy in the morning, but it should be clear weather in the afternoon. Oh, you're the weatherman. On the side.
Brent, having played and coached here, when I was playing here, VMI was our big rival. I mean, that was a dog. I mean, everybody got up for that one. And when I was coaching here with the kids, Furman was a big rival rather than VMI. And I heard somebody say the other day that now Wofford seems to be the big rival. Which are all of them still big rivals, or is Furman
I
the
agree
team?
with everything that you just said right there. It depends on what area you talk to. For me, it's just because the way that we've played Wofford so tight, that's become the rival. But this Furman one's starting to, it's starting to get at me a little bit. I'm starting to understand why. why it's a little bit of a rivalry here. You know, the understanding was it used to be the last game of the year, and that was kind of the rivalry issue with it.
Yeah.
And the VMI Citadel was a good back and forth game back in the 70s, and VMI was a very good football team at the time, and I can understand why that was an issue.
Yeah.
And of course, the similarities between the two schools and the Shaco and everything. So yeah, it's all kind of it's probably the first place I've ever been. I've been at places where we've had 0 rivals, and this is the first place that we've had 3. So, like I said, I can go with the flow. It depends on who I talk to, what I say.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Brent, coming off a win always helps, but is there anything you think the team needs to get better at this week going into Furman coming off the VMI game?
Well, you know, there's a couple of things. That VMI game is it's such a tough game to prepare for. They let everything at you. You know, they take long, deep shots at you. I don't think we tackled well on defense. I think we can continue to do a better job in tackling. We had a couple of one-on-ones. A couple of the big plays that we let up in there was just one-on-one tackling, nothing more than that, and that's just pure fundamentals of it. On the offensive side of it is you got to take a different approach to that game. You got to take an approach where you just got to be able to make as many adjustments as you can possibly make on the sideline and at halftime, because you don't know what they're going to come out and what defense and what their adjustments are. They do such a good job of game planning you. I thought we did a good job of adjusting on offense. However, we still missed just some key blocks and some key fundamental things moving forward that if we want to be a good football team, more experienced football teams have a way of being able to overcome some of those things and just kind of use their football knowledge and past knowledge of playing in other games. That helps them get through those situations. But those are the 2 areas that I thought, the blocking and kind of just adjusting to some assignments on the offensive side, and then the open field tackle on the defensive side. A couple of things, we let out a big quarterback scramble. Those things are going to happen when you're pressuring, as I always say. The pass interference calls, those things are going to happen when you throw the ball 70-something times a game. It's kind of the way the game is played. We're going to throw the ball up and get a penalty after it and get a first down instead of earning it. And then we are going to, just try to find you an open space. Maybe try to run a pick route and score touchdowns.
I know that as an offense, because I was involved with it at Air Force, you take what the defense gives you. But the first series, the first drive you had, it almost looked like it was scripted. I mean, you had a few throws in there, the little quick game. You had the ball on the corner, you had the ball up inside. It looked like it was a scripted, like a lot of teams do. Did you script the first series?
We had a good thought going into that first series of what we wanted to do, because the thing about those guys is if you try to run the ball in the first couple of plays like that, is you don't know what you're getting. So you've got to call some base plays in there. So what we decided to do was start off just throwing a couple of little quick hitches out there to see that, and just let the quarterback make the read, give him an opportunity to be able to see what the defense is doing, give us an opportunity upstairs to see what they were doing. And then once we had a good understanding of what we were getting, then we can get into our game plan. My regret about the game was not coming back to some of that stuff. Throughout the day is once you start to get involved in the game plan and the play calling, you don't want to get behind too much. But I think those were some things that when I went back and looked at the film, we could have gotten back to. Some of the quick game, some of the quick passing game was working, was very effective for us. The first hitch route to Raleigh Webb goes for about 8 or 9 yards. And then the next one, he gets a couple more yards, and we're moving the ball and we're keeping him off balance. I think looking back at it, we needed to do more of that stuff throughout the game. But you're also trying to diagnose what they're doing throughout the game too. So not scripted, but yet it was in my thought process that, hey, let's get something that we can handle to move the ball forward before we break into a game plan. Thank you.